Hey, I'm Kristin.
And I'm Ashley.
And this is Locked in a Closet.
Join us as we tell each other stories of true crime, the paranormal, urban legends, and all things spooky.
New year, new intro.
Ooh, yeah.
That's true.
New year, new intro, but same us.
Same old us.
Yeah.
Making it up as we go.
We don't need character development. It's fine.
God no. Yeah. Anyway, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
2021.
Let's hope it's a better year for everybody.
God, it better be. I had my Facebook memory. You know how you get the stupid memories from when you were a teenager and they're always really embarrassing.
Oh my God, so bad, but I love them simultaneously.
Yeah, mine from 2014 on New Year's Eve was, if next year's not better than this year, I demand a recount. And I was like, oh my God, like, shut up.
It reminds me of that quote from The Simpsons where Bart's like, this is the worst day of my life. And Homer's like, the worst day of your life so far.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I want to be like, listen, you don't get to complain. Yeah. Like 2014, no, I'm sure was absolutely nothing.
Yeah, well, I don't know what happened. I was 24. I was probably living my best life. Yeah, I was young.
No, I don't know. I couldn't even tell you what happened in 2014. It feels like it was so long ago.
Honestly, I don't know. I lived for those.
Feels like it was so long ago.
I live for those Facebook memories because it helps me remember. It's like I have dementia and it's being like, hey, just giving you some memories to not forget.
Yeah, except half of them I end up just deleting because I'm like, oh my God, why?
I should delete
I should not have had the internet when I was a teenager. Oh my God.
Honestly, I'm so happy that like Facebook didn't really exist until like my last year of high school. And that was even when it was still kind of like not popular. Mm-hmm. Facebook until university. But yeah, like MySpace and Nexopia, like all that shit's gone. Like I don't think you could find it if you tried.
Yeah, well, MySpace still exists, but it's very different now. Yeah, like it's not like,
well, they rebooted
like,
or
scene
something.
Kids anymore. It's like, yeah, I think like Justin Timberlake bought it. I think is what happened.
Wow,
am I making that up?
I'd believe it. Honest to God, I know that they tried to reboot it to be like more of a music platform because honestly, it was kind of a music platform before it was more of a social media thing. Like I used to find all my bands, like all my new scene, emo, fucking underground shit on there. Like,
yeah. Well, that's how like I actually found the band that does the intro song.
Was that from on MySpace?
Yeah, I found them on MySpace when I was like 16, and then I was their top friend on MySpace for a while because. Look at me go. 16-year-old me was
popular.
Super excited. And then 2019 in the summer, they're from Detroit. We go camping with Michael's family every summer, except for this last summer, obviously, in Michigan. And we were going like really close to Detroit in 2019. So I messaged them and I was like, did you guys want to like hang out?
Oh my God, you're so ballsy.
Well, I went with my husband. Like,
yeah,
he's
but
kind of
like
a giant man. But yeah, like we've been friends on Facebook for like,
it
cool.
Was
10 years at that point. So
that's so
cool.
I was always super cool. Shy. Although I remember I used to go to there was a music festival kind of concert thing that the local radio station in Vancouver would put on. It was Fox Fest. I don't think they do it anymore. And I remember one year I was so into Faber Drive, which was like a local band. Back then, like I had such a crush on the lead singer, but I was like probably like 16 and they were obviously in their 20s.
And it would be really weird if I
yeah, but I remember like they were at that point they weren't super popular. Like I think they had won a local like a grant off the Fox radio station. And so they were becoming fairly popular and being played on the radio. And they were just like mingling in the crowd as like normies. And I remember just going up to them and being like, hi, oh my God. Because we were like standing in line and we were like chatting and like getting a drink or something. I wasn't old enough to drink alcohol, but I remember just being so starstruck and being like, I talked to a celebrity. Like,
that's so funny. Okay, so should we jump right in?
Yeah, I guess so. We're go from happy talkings to one of the worst cases out there.
Yeah. So yeah, in case you didn't read the title, we're talking about Jonbenet today. But we thought we might, I mean, everybody knows, like at this point, it's been over 20 years.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what actually happened.
Everybody knows who, or at least has heard her name. And if you're into true crime and everything, you've at least watched one of the many documentaries. So we figured we'd just kind of do a quick summary.
Yeah. And then we're going to focus more on the theories of like who potentially could have.
I feel like everyone's just going to be screaming at their phone right now, being like, it was the family. Like,
I know, but I don't know. Like every time I like think about JonBenet or like I watch a documentary or whatever, I'm just like, okay, like this is who did it. Like I'm sure of it. And then I hear somebody else's perspective and I'm like, oh shit. Like I don't know.
When we were driving to get dinner, I was telling Jeff about what we were talking about today on the episode, and he heard the name JonBenet, but he didn't know. So I gave him the brief rundown of the case and, you know, telling him about like who I thought it was. And I was saying to him like, oh, but then like, you know, there's always this one random person. And I was telling him about some of the people that we have listed. And he's like, yeah, that's the hard thing about that case, or like cases like that, is like, if there is any bit of like reasonable doubt, then they can't be charged for it. And I'm like, yeah, that's so true. Like part of me is, it was like 99% someone in that family, but might have not been. So I couldn't imagine being on a jury for that. That would have been,
God, I know.
That would have been hard.
I just can't wait for it to be over.
That's why I honestly have a hard time with talking about cold cases, because then it's like you talk about all those horrible things and stuff, and then it's just like, well, that's the end of the story. There's no conclusion. It's not
resolved.
Yeah, and it just breaks my heart, especially when it's like a young kid.
I know. She was such a cutie. It's so sad. Okay, real quick, I'm just gonna get through the sources. So crimemuseum.com. I think it was a 2020 it was the video.
Oh yeah, the 2020 JonBenet grand juror speaks. That was with oh my god, what was her name? Barbara Walters. It was her. Yeah, okay. I watched that one too.
Okay. Christina Randall had a video on YouTube about JonBenet and like the potential killer.
Nice.
Really good episode of Cult Leader, if you've never heard that podcast.
I saw that on your sources and I was like, I should have listened to that.
It's really good.
I think it'd be good for us to have different perspectives. So
yeah, so Cult Leader is a podcast by a guy named Spencer Henry. And on that episode he had Mikey from Glam and Gore on YouTube. I don't know if you've ever watched that. She
god, yeah.
So she was on that. Yeah.
That's so
she
cool.
was on that because Spencer, I don't know if you've watched a lot of her videos, but Spencer is her hairdresser. It's his podcast, and then she was on that episode. And it was so cool. Good. It's like my favorite.
Is it all about like cults and stuff?
Yeah, he just does a bunch of like different true crime stuff. Okay. BuzzFeed Unsolved. There was an article from them.
Yeah.
Article, video, I don't remember.
It was a video with
it was
Shane.
A while ago.
Yeah.
There was a Rolling Stone article posted about JonBenet, Vocal Criminal article.
That was one of my sources. Yeah.
And then there was a video on YouTube from the channel True Crime Rocket Science. Okay, so quick little recap of what happened. So the morning of December 26th, 1996, JonBenet was not found in her bed in her home in Boulder, Colorado. She lived with her mom, Patsy, her dad, John, and her brother, Brooke. So Patsy was the one that went looking for her originally in her room. She then found a ransom note demanding $118,000 for the return of JonBenet. The ransom note was found on the back staircase inside of their home, and it was written on stationery from also inside their home.
Mm-hmm. So Patsy then called the police, and then after calling the police, she immediately called friends and family to come to her house and basically search for JonBenet. So the police arrived at 5:55 a.m., which that's so early. That's a really, like, I get up at no, I'm not even gonna admit how late I sleep until but yeah, so at 5:55 a.m. they arrived. I thought she called them at that time, but anyways, it was early.
It could be. I don't know. It was
they cornered off her bedroom and allowed family and friends to roam the rest of the house. They did not even seal the crime scene, which is wild to me. At 1 p.m., John and a family friend, I think the police had told them to like go and check if anything else was missing.
Yeah.
And then I had heard actually from one of my sources that the police told them to start top to bottom, but he immediately just went to the basement, which seems pretty sus to me. So then he discovered JonBenet's body in the basement. John then picked up her body and brought it upstairs. I also heard that he covered her with a blanket.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
he contaminated everything to do.
We should mention too that they obviously were very well off.
Yes.
which I think everybody knows. And their house was like 15 rooms. Like it was like a massive, massive house.
It's huge. Yeah. I said at one point, I saw an interview with them, and Patsy said like the house was so big, like you could be in one room and for days and we wouldn't notice. That's wild.
Scary.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Okay, so the autopsy showed that she had died from it's a hard word. Oh no, I don't think I can say it.
No, now I can't say it. Oh my god, I was so like, I got this.
You're
and
like,
then I
I'll
fucked
take
it up.
it.
Asphyxiation.
There we go. Okay. I'll just try it again. Asphyxiation.
There we go.
Okay. The autopsy showed that she had died from oh no.
Do you want me to say this?
So the autopsy showed that no, you know what? I can't do it.
Okay, I'll say it. Okay.
First.
I'm gonna bomb this now.
It's okay. I already have.
Yeah. So the autopsy showed that she died from asphyxiation due to strangulation and a skull fracture.
Her body was found to have duct tape over her mouth and a cord around her neck. There was also, I don't remember what it's called. It starts with a G, like a
garrote, I think.
Garrote.
Garrote, yeah. So I think that cord was the garrote that they talk about.
Okay,
that was around her neck, yeah.
And then pineapple was found in her stomach, undigested, which meant that she had eaten it just like a couple hours before she passed away, which is interesting because John and Patsy claimed not to have fed her pineapple and milk, which is gross.
What a weird, I mean, I have some weird food combos, so I'm gonna not judge, but I'm a judge.
I will. That's gross. Like, wouldn't it just like curdle the milk? Because it's like acidic. So a single source of unknown male DNA was also found on both her long johns and her underwear. No matches were found in the FBI's database.
The only other thing to add is 2 sets of unidentified footprints were found at the scene. Just 2 sets, and they didn't belong to anyone like that was in the house or had come to the house. And then another thing to note was that there was no footsteps in the snow, like outside, because obviously in Colorado in December, there's going to be snow. And then in one of the articles I read that there was a random rope found, I think by her bedroom window or down, because she was on the 2nd story, I think, or whatever. And it didn't belong to anyone in the family. So could be a red herring, could have been random. Planted. Yeah, could have been random. But I think the footsteps in the snow, the fact that there was only two sets of unidentified ones and like nothing really else around the house, that's telling to me. So I think we should start with maybe like the least plausible suspects and like work our way into maybe what you and I think. So one of the ones I read, which is probably not who killed her, but you know, has some sort of suspect things. So the housekeeper. So apparently they had a housekeeper. They also had a handyman, and they were husband and wife. So it was like, I don't know the handyman. Oh no, the handyman's name is there. So Linda Hoffman Pugh had worked for the family as the housekeeper, and her husband Mervyn was their handyman, which is crazy.
What a name.
Right? Mervyn
Pugh, probably.
Oh no.
Poor guy.
Oh. So they would have had a key to the house. So one of the big problems I have with this case is like the whole break-in thing. Like, yes, there was that broken window in the basement apparently, but it could have been staged. Like, so
could have just been a random broken window that they never noticed because the house was so big,
and they never went in the basement. Hardly ever. So yeah, so they would have had a key to the house. And apparently when the police did come to talk to her, she voiced quite loudly that she had suspicions that Patsy killed her own daughter. So she was very quick to throw Patsy under the bus, either rightfully so, or to, you know,
throw off
their scent, right?
Yeah.
So apparently Linda had asked Patsy rather. So this is a he said, she said situation. Seashells bound down by the seashore. Cannot talk. Patsy claimed Linda had asked for a loan of several $1,000s to the Ramsays, and the Ramsays had declined, saying, no, we're not giving you this loan. So motive?
Was it $118,000?
Right. And not only that, but like, because she was the housekeeper, she could have either seen the pay stub or overheard Patsy and what's the husband's name?
John,
obviously. Jonbenet. She could have overheard them talking about his Christmas bonus, so she might have known that exact amount because in the ransom note it's very specific.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the telling things. So as you mentioned before, the ransom note was written from inside the house. The call came from inside the house. It was written on Patsy's stationery with her pen, and they had found actually that several copies had been written as like practice, and they had found some excerpts from it, I guess, had ripped up. And housekeeper's gonna be in a house for a long time. Like, she could have been in the house, she could have practiced writing that either that day or several days. Like, that's one of the things that boggles my mind about this case, is like the fact that 3-page ransom note, a 3-page ransom note, by the way, so fucking long and unnecessary, was written inside the house they assume during the kidnapping. I know the house is big, and so someone could have been in there like all night and they wouldn't have known, but it just seems strange that you would write the ransom note last minute, Yeah. So this could be an explanation for that. Like, maybe it was written days before. But yeah, so honestly, this suspect's a stretch. But she does not have an alibi because she was just at home sleeping. So
another thing with that one too is, I know like with other ones they've mentioned that it was likely somebody that Jonbenet was like familiar with.
Yeah.
So right? I mean, housekeeper would have been there all the time.
We're trying to talk about all the suspects and really bring all the evidence forward. So like, even though this one's quite a stretch, I feel like it's not that quite a stretch, right?
Yeah.
And they did talk about finding 2 sets of footprints, so they suspect that 2 people were involved. Husband and wife. They were both familiar with the house, the layout. They would have both known Jonbenet. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was them, but it could have been.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with all of them. It's like, well, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. And so, like, obviously the police went and got DNA from them. They went and did handwriting checks. They specifically actually had her write out the number, the 118,000.
118,000, yeah.
Yeah. So, but
interesting. Yeah, I hadn't heard that one before.
Yeah, I honestly, researching this case, I really had to dig for suspects that weren't the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was tough.
Yeah. Another one that was not the family was Bill McReynolds. This one, I watched a lot of stuff about him today because I was like, what? Like, I hadn't heard of him before today. So Bill McReynolds used to dress up as Santa Claus for all of the Christmas parties that the Ramsays would throw. I
want to say wholesome, but all that comes to mind is John Wayne Gacy and the clown thing. I don't trust anyone that does anything for children.
A little bit, eh? Yeah,
right?
It's a little weird. So yeah, this one is interesting. That year, Jonbenet had told one of her friends that she was getting a special secret visit from Santa after Christmas.
I also heard too that because her friend was like, Santa comes on Christmas, and then Jonbenet said, "Not my Santa."
Yeah,
she said, "My Santa."
My Santa. Yeah, yeah. It was really weird. So the friend's mom was just like, "No, like, he's not, like, what are you talking about? Like, Santa comes on Christmas Eve, blah, 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 blah." And then she told the friend and the friend's mom, "My Santa told me he was going to give me a visit after Christmas." So that's a little
and
weird.
She died after Christmas.
She died, yeah. Boxing Day. Okay. He, I guess, was interviewed by the police, which
that's good.
Great. Good for them. He did one thing right. And his wife was his alibi. She said that they were at home together. Which,
that's not an alibi.
That's not really an alibi. Yeah.
No, yeah.
So something that was really weird about him was he, I guess, was gifted by Jonbenet a little vial of glitter.
Apparently she gave him glitter 2 years in a row. I read in one article. I don't know how true that is.
Strange. Yeah. So at the funeral for Jonbenet, he was there and he handed Patsy the vial that Jonbenet had given him. And then Patsy, this is just like a strange thing that Patsy would do anyway. At the funeral, she asked Bill if he was going to be at the Christmas party next year.
At her funeral?
At her daughter's funeral. That's what she asked.
Okay. So like at my brother's funeral, I definitely was like laughing with my friends.
Yeah.
So it's weird because
like
everyone grieves differently and everyone just expects you to just be crying.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just get too exhausted to cry. So I have a hard time judging that because I've been in a similar situation where it's like when someone so close to you traumatically dies, you're just expected to be a wreck. And 99% of the time you are, but then sometimes you're too tired to be sad and you're like, I just want to be happy for a minute. Like,
yeah.
So I still judge her, but also I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So after she had asked him that, he said, it's not going to happen, and then walked away. So that's a little weird.
Back to that glitter thing. I do want to mention that apparently he took that with him to a surgery he had. Like he had some, I think, bypass surgery or something that where he like could have died. And he took it with him as good luck. And then he also told his wife that if he were to die, he wants his ashes to be mixed with the glitter.
That's so weird.
Yeah. And
really
he called
weird.
Jonbenet his special friend.
Ooh, I hate that.
Yeah.
That's just creepy.
No, you should never call a child your special friend.
Yeah. So shortly after Jonbenet died, in 1998, he moved to Cape Cod. So just got right out of Boulder. He passed away in 2002. And a weird little thing is his wife wrote a play years later about a little girl who was murdered in the basement.
Was that years later? I have that written down too, but I wasn't sure if it happened before or after because that's kind of
I think it was after. I'm pretty sure that's what I read. Yeah. So it's a little weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like every different like article about a different person is like, oh yeah, like they were obsessed with Jonbenet. And it's like, I think that she was probably a likable kid. Like I think that's probably a lot of it.
Yes and no, because I completely agree. But also I feel like child beauty pageants sexualize the fuck out of children. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where pedophiles come out of the woodwork and they go, I like am deeply touched by this girl. Like they become obsessed. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm not saying Bill McReynolds was a pedophile, but who knows, right? Like,
who knows?
Yeah. I just think anyone who's obsessed, especially with a kid that's involved in stuff where they're being sexualized like that, they're going to have a few admirers.
Yeah, for sure.
And she had a lot.
She sure did.
Apparently, though, I did see in an interview where John said that he regretted letting her be a part of that and thinks it's probably part of her demise.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it really is. All right.
Okay,
so next.
I'll do Michael Helgoth, I think is how you pronounce it. So this was a suspect. I think that they had hired a personal private investigator to look into the case. Mm-hmm. So I think this Michael Helgoth guy was discovered by the PI. And then so apparently he was found dead in his home 2 days after the death of Jonbenet. And it was speculated that it was a suicide, but a lot of people think that it was actually a murder to keep him quiet. So whether or not that was related, it could have just been just a random coincidence.
He was just a shitty guy.
Yeah, so they think, like, if he was involved, some speculate that he was murdered to keep silent based on the evidence that the bullet impacted from the left side of his brain or his head, but the gun was found in his right hand. So who knows? I mean, that could be an unrelated murder and or suicide. Mm-hmm. But, and then again, this is all speculation because this is like someone said this, but a friend / like coworker of Helgoth said that he said this to him in casual conversation. And this is a quote from the friend who's unnamed. In late November, Helgoth had told me that he and a partner were going to make a great deal of money and that they will each bring in around $50,000 to $60,000. I will never forget, we were walking towards his house and he said, I wonder what it would be like to crack a human skull. So this could be a completely unrelated hit if it was that, but the math adds up, like 50 to 60,000 times 2 adds up pretty close to that 100 and whatever 18,000. But this one's a stretch because it could be
this one
unrelated.
Too, I saw something about him, and it was with the private investigator. It was like more recent, and the private investigator got a hold of a pair of boots of Michael Helgoth.
Yes,
and they matched
the same logo.
Yeah, I don't remember what the brand was, but it was.
It was high tech. I don't know why I remember that, but it was high tech. Yeah, and I think I didn't mention, but I think he was like a neighbor or lived in the same city.
Yeah, he lived close to them.
So this one I don't know. But this is where plants those seeds of doubt where it's like, oh, it could have been.
That's the thing. Like every time I think about this, I'm just like, no, I know who it is. And then I'm like, oh. Well, maybe.
Yeah. This is probably why the police don't fucking have anyone, because
I know.
they've got all these suspects that are good for it.
Yeah, I know. It's just crazy. Okay, so another theory is that it was just like some random person that was hiding in their house. So this one is actually kind of believable, I think, anyway. So like we said before, they lived in a 15-room mansion.
Who needs that many? I'm sorry.
I know.
They had 2 kids.
Well, I think they were like like John's kids. I think he had kids from a previous marriage too that didn't live with him full time. But yeah, I think that they were there part time.
That's still too many rooms. So.
That's way too many rooms. Yeah. It's possible that they had been hiding in their house for like days before. Like, who knows how long they could have been in there before. And then once they started calling like every friend and family member over, it's possible that just like with all that commotion, they were able to slip out of the house unnoticed.
Or just go back to his hiding spot until the house was empty again.
Yeah. Which, like, I can totally see that, because think of like a busy party. Like, if you can remember back to parties, like, you don't see everybody there all the time. No. Like, who knows who's there? So,
and you do the Irish exit or the French exit where you just leave without telling anyone.
Yeah. So I think that's very possible. They could have been watching them because they were at a Christmas party at somebody else's house, I think, on Christmas night.
Yeah, they were. And
they could have snuck in through that broken window in the basement if nobody was home. And could have just been hiding there, or could have been there for God knows how long.
Right. Could have just been one of the creepy admirers of Jonbenet because she was in pageants. And literally paraded around her town. Yeah.
So one of the theories is that they didn't plan on killing her, but accidentally did it when she started screaming, because apparently screams could be heard from the neighbor's house, which the neighbors did hear screaming at one point.
Really?
But they couldn't be heard from the 3rd floor of the Ramsay house, which is where Patsy and
although I have to say I'm a pretty sound sleeper. Like, my mom used to vacuum she'd go into my bedroom and vacuum, and I'd just be out. I've slept through like earthquakes, like so could be just one of those people.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's possible. I don't know.
That's one of those theories that's like really stretching, but also at the same time, very like
believable.
The weirder things have happened. Yeah.
All of them are believable.
All of them.
But
all of them I could get on.
Yeah. Like, and
I'm also one of those people that, like, I'll be skeptical, and then when someone gives me evidence, I'm like, yeah, you got him. That's it. Like, even if it's like the littlest evidence, you got him. And then someone's like, but also this person. I'm like, oh yeah, no, it was definitely that guy now. Definitely. Like,
it's a really good thing we're not cops.
I was gonna say,
or judges.
I don't think I could be a cop. Yeah, or a judge. I'd be like, one person would cry, and I'd be like, oh, you know what? They're probably right, because they're crying.
Yeah.
Because I cry. I cry. Yeah.
You know what? Let's just forget the whole thing. You can go home.
All of you, go home. It's fine. Not you, though. Okay, so this one, I'm definitely going to say, like, obviously, I hate definitely saying didn't do it, but when I tell you the things, you'll be like, yeah, it probably wasn't him. So there was a guy named John Mark Carr who actually confessed to killing Jonbenet. And at the time, I guess he had started writing emails to this journalist. Why would you pick a random journalist? Don't know. But he picked a random journalist and he emailed him, like, confessing. And so this journalist said that really weird. So this journalist actually emailed back and forth with him for 4 years. 4 fucking years to try and, like, gain his trust. Yikes. Which, like, I'm surprised he didn't just go straight to the cops and then have the cops, like, basically take over and, like, email. That's why I'm like, But apparently he had, like, he knew some things about the cases that weren't, or about the case that wasn't quite, like, revealed, which is kind of wild. But I mean, it was such a sensational
asphyxiation.
Sensational. What is that?
I don't know what you're trying to say.
Sensational. Oh my God. The word is when something is so big and it's all over the news and it's
sensational?
Like, yeah, but it's like sensationalized. Yes. Sensationalized.
Oh, yes. Okay.
We got there, people. We got there. I'll only say it that one time. Maybe he got information through various news articles that somehow knew things before the police
or just like heard rumors in the town.
Yeah, right. Honestly, I kind of feel like he's like the confession killer guy, the Henry Lee Lucas, who just wanted fame, right? Happens all the time.
Which, like, Why would you want to be famous for murdering somebody? Sorry,
there's people that fucking do it and actually murder people. So
yeah, just get like TikTok.
And just don't hurt anybody.
In the 90s.
Yeah, I don't honestly get it either, but some people are so desperate for attention. Apparently he had fled to Thailand to avoid pornography charges in like California. So they actually went to Thailand and found him and brought him back to get him on those charges. So like already a creepy dude who's into children. So believable. But I think his DNA ruled him out. And not only that, but the lead investigator at the time was like, he wasn't even in Colorado, and it took us 30 minutes to find a photo of him in Georgia, like at the day of the murder. So
they're like, shut up, go home.
Yeah, wasn't even this guy.
Well, shut up, go to jail because child pornography. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so John Mark Carr, he confessed, but definitely wasn't the killer. I don't think. But also there's a doubt of like maybe the photograph was false, and I don't know. He didn't
photoshopped.
He's still creep. Yeah.
Yeah. Gary Olivia is the last less good one that we're going to talk about.
Before we talk about the family.
Yeah. So he was also a sex offender. He was charged with child pornography possession. He lived 10 blocks away, and he had an obsession with Jonbenet. The night that she was discovered, he called a friend sobbing on the phone saying, "I heard a little girl," which is that's so creepy. Can you imagine being the friend that got that phone call?
Like, shame on the friend for like not calling the cops, you know?
Yeah.
Unless the friend was just as sick as he was.
So he also told his friend that it was in Boulder, and evidence shows that no other little girls were harmed or murdered in the area on that night. So it was only Jonbenet.
Not admit to it, though.
Yeah, that's true. He was arrested, and he had a stun gun on him when the cops found him. And there was also evidence that a stun gun was used on Jonbenet. So that's another thing.
I think it was a stun gun. Yeah. Like there was marks that they
I think it was a train track.
Yes, I wanted to talk about the train theory. I was like, they think it was a stun gun.
Yeah.
It was like, I think it was just markings that they didn't know what it was from, but like looked like when a stun gun,
like the marks at the
I don't never been
sleeve.
Don't tase me, bro. I've never been tased, so I don't know.
God, do you remember when that was a thing?
Yeah.
Don't tase me, bro.
Don't tase me, bro.
Oh my God.
Remember when that was news, and then not like actual people being tased by police people for stupid shit.
Yeah. So another thing about him, he tried to strangle his mother in a similar way to how Jonbenet was killed with the garrote. There's the word that we were looking for earlier. Garrote.
I think you say the T.
Garrote.
I don't think it's French.
Oh yeah, I guess. I
know we automatically go.
It's like carrot, but with a G. So Garrett.
Yeah.
Gary also carried a photo of Jonbenet in his backpack, saying that her death affected him profoundly after he was apprehended for drug charges in 2000.
So he had a photo of her in his backpack for what is it, 4 years?
Yeah, 1996. That's really weird.
That's fucked up. Like I don't carry photos of anybody anywhere at any time.
I have photos of my niece when she was in like kindergarten and grade 1 because they're really cheesy school photos. And I also have a picture of my dad when he was in grade 8 because he had like mutton chops and really long emo hair when he was in grade 8. And I also have one of Michael's hockey cards from when he was 9.
Oh my God, that's so
because
cute.
It's really cute.
I don't have photos of anybody. Just I don't care, apparently. I have like my wallet and it's got like a debit card and a credit card and like my ID and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. So just the last thing about him, he wasn't a match to the DNA evidence. So
nobody was a match.
Yeah. So who freaking knows?
Yeah. So I want quickly to talk about the DNA because I did see on one of the documentaries, I think.
Is this the factory?
Yeah. So the whole DNA thing, it might not be even like, it could just be a red herring or whatever. Like it could be false evidence because that, I forget the guy's name, the big DNA expert guy. He proved that like there's transfer DNA that came from the factory that made these panties, which so gross. Please wash all your clothes before you wear them, people. Like, so this DNA could be nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's not like it was like semen or anything. It was just like a transfer DNA. Like,
DNA.
Yeah. It might not be nothing.
Yeah. I remember watching that for the first time, like when that 3-part series like first came
Yeah.
out, and I was like, what?
I know.
It was like
fucking revolutionary.
Yeah.
I think it was the parents and the son.
I think it was Burke first and then the parents. That's what I think.
I think we'll get into Burke, but let's talk about the parents.
Yeah. Okay, so first things first, Patsy was the one that found that she was missing.
At like 5 a.m. I'm
At
sorry,
5
who wakes up that
a.m.
early? I mean, I guess normal people do.
I wonder
don't
what like a normal day in their life was like.
Yeah, hey, like
Like
what
I
time
wonder if they
got up.
normally got up that early, or if this was like a
Because it was the day after Christmas. And they went to a Christmas party that night. You'd think they'd want to sleep in. They'd be tired. It just seems too early.
And it's like vacation time.
Yeah. And they're rich. So it's like, what do you got to do?
Yeah.
What do you got to do?
Yeah.
So yeah, so she woke up first and she found the ransom note.
And she found the ransom note.
On
and the
stairs,
ransom note was on her stationery.
And they're on her back stairs. I wish, I don't know the diagram of the house.
You can find the blueprints of the house like online.
Oh, I should have looked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ransom note. And $118,000 was almost the exact amount that John Ramsay got for his Christmas bonus. Which, can we talk about? This was in 1996.
I don't even want to get into that right
I
now.
don't even make that much money in a year.
No.
Let alone a fucking bonus.
I know.
One thing I did read, and I should have put it in the sources, but I did read someone did a very thorough breakdown of the ransom note, and specifically on the wording that was used. Words throughout the note that were very specific and very computer related. I wish I could remember them all, but it was like words like monitor, which in the 90s, like computer monitor wasn't exactly like a super common word. It was a lot of words like that had some sort of rooting in computers, which makes me think that like as Patsy Ramsay is writing the note, he's like dictating what to say to her, basically.
I was
using these
literally
words.
just thinking that. I've never thought of that before, but like...
Oh, here we go. Okay, so certain words in the ransom note, such as instruction, monitor, execution, scanned, electronic, and device, are all computer terms. And at the time of Jonbenet's death, John Ramsay was the president of Axis Graphics, a computer distribution company. Yeah, you know what? Those are kind of very specific words. But also, here's a wild theory. And this kind of is like so wild. What if it was just someone from his company? Because
I was just thinking that when you said that
they
too.
knew
They would
the
have
amount
known.
that like I would be salty if my boss took home $118,000 and I got fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Like it makes me think of like what's that Christmas? Is it Christmas Vacation? Where he wants to get a pool for his family and then they send him like ham or whatever it was.
Yeah, he gets like a
Jell-O subscription.
Yeah, it was a subscription to something.
Yeah. So like what if it was a salty like ex-employee or current employee that was like, I'm gonna, but then botched the whole thing so bad and then accidentally killed her.
Maybe they wanted to like break into his house and just like steal something, but then saw her eating her pineapple and milk.
Wild theory.
We're just going off the rails.
Yeah. I'm just going like conspiracy right now. What if it was like you said, they just wanted to break in and steal shit and get money, but then found fucking dead Jonbenet in the basement and they're like, we don't want any part of this.
Maybe.
Right? And it was like, and then the Jonbenets were like, oh, we got to cover up this murder anyways. Let's just...
The Ramsays, you mean?
Or who did I say?
He's the Jonbenets.
Listen, it's been a long day.
Been a day.
Yeah. None of that makes sense, so I take it back. Because they specifically say in the thing that like we'll kill your daughter. But what if they weren't even gonna take her, and then they're just like, this is a good excuse to kill her daughter. I'm gonna get sued for defamation.
All of this is theory.
I don't believe any of it.
Please don't come for us.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we went on a big tangent because of
the money, the Christmas bonus,
and yeah. So we'll continue on with our list of evidence.
Right. So another thing that was really weird, the 911 call. This was part of that documentary, like the 3-part series that I was like, oh, okay. Because once like she's finished with I'm the mother, that kind of thing, it sounds like she's saying something else. And they think it's what did you do or something like that.
Isn't there like at the end they think that she's talking to Burke being like, what did you do?
Yeah.
which is like, oh my god.
Because she thought that it was like hung up already, but it wasn't hung up yet.
Oh my god.
So she like started talking to Burke. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's another thing too, is like they claimed, and this will kind of go in when we talk more about Burke as being a suspect, but they claimed that he was asleep the whole time. Even when the police came, he was asleep. But you can hear him apparently in the back of the 911 call. I couldn't really hear anything, but
yeah,
some people are able to like make the audio so crisp and clear.
Mm-hmm.
But, so yeah, who maybe she was talking about herself or about Burke, or who knows. Oh, and another thing we should mention for the ransom note is that the handwriting analysis ruled out John, but Patsy was inconclusive.
Mm-hmm.
So, which means it might have not been her, but also
could have been. That should be the name of this.
Might have not been, but it could have been.
Another weird thing, you kind of touched on this before, but when the police officer told John to go and check the house, I think it was a lady, she told him to check the house from top to bottom, and he immediately goes downstairs and finds the body like right away.
Yeah, that's strange to me.
Yeah,
also,
like,
strange that the police didn't do a thorough enough search. Like, they went in and apparently searched the house.
Yeah.
And I heard in one basement. Of them. Yeah, well, I heard that they went into the basement, but it was dark. Isn't that what fucking flashlights are for?
Okay, it's
like,
the
where's
90s.
The light switch?
There's a light switch.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It's literally like going into a room and having your eyes closed and be like, nothing's here.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, so after he like immediately finds her body, he picks her up, takes the tape off of her mouth, and then brought her upstairs.
I will say that a lot of people who aren't into true crime don't really understand the importance of preserving a crime scene. And if you're seeing like your child, I do believe emotions would get the better of you. Like, so I don't want to be like that.
Common sense though.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's not. That's what I'm learning. That's what I learned from 2020 is common sense is actually more uncommon than anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Wear a fucking mask, people.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing with the duct tape too is that there were fibers on the duct tape that belonged to the blazer that Patsy had been wearing that day.
Which she wore the night, actually, that Christmas party. She wore that same blazer that night. And like she was into pageants and stuff too. And was like all about appearances. And for someone to be all about appearances and be super rich to wear the same outfit twice. I'm not buying it.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was still wearing that outfit all fucking night, staging that murder.
Could be.
Yeah.
I did see something about the fibers though that said like it could have just been like, you know how some clothing just sheds a lot?
Yeah.
It could have been something like that, but the fact that it was on the tape, I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't shed and like get stuck to her face and then be ripped off.
Right.
Like that doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, or like by some random coincidence, the last time she touched that tape, she was wearing that blazer. But
yeah,
you're right. It could just be like, you know, Patsy probably did touch Jonbenet as well. Mm-hmm. So like it could have happened. The transfer could have happened after the murder for sure. But yeah. I don't know if they can prove like how it was layered or whatever. That is still pretty crazy though.
Yeah.
I heard in some other part that like basically fibers from her clothing were all over Jonbenet. But like I said, it's her child. She probably was hugging or touching. Like,
yeah.
But for me, the one thing that's questionable to me is that she was wearing the same outfit that she wore that night. And they got home and they went to bed. So why would she put on that same blazer? Like she also apparently took time to do her makeup before the police came, which... I mean, there was a point in my life where
thinking about when your kid
was... yeah, like, oh, better look hot, like,
yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Or she had makeup on at 5:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, like
it's almost like she called everybody over and was like putting on a show.
Yeah, that's true.
She put makeup on and like got dressed and stuff. Think about like if it was your kid, like you definitely would not give a shit what you look like.
No,
you probably wouldn't want all those people around your house. If you called the cops, yeah, you'd want the cops there, but you wouldn't want like 8,000 people there.
It's so hard to predict what would go through people's minds, like, because she was so I'm assuming, this is me speculating, that she was so into her looks and like what she appeared to be from the outside. Like she probably put her makeup on because people were coming over. But it's crazy because you know you're gonna cry. You know you're gonna. I've been in that situation where I've received the most tragic news of my life, and I cried, and my face was like, if I had makeup on, there wouldn't have been makeup on later. Like,
yeah.
So I don't get that for
Yeah,
her
no, that doesn't make any
having
sense.
makeup.
I didn't know that part about her having the same blazer as the.
Yeah, so that was
husband.
someone had mentioned that. I think that was on a Reddit thread. Then they had sources, but it was the same exact outfit. So someone was like, I don't think she took it off. Like, I think she was probably just still wearing it. She got home, they found their daughter dead, and was like, we gotta fucking figure this shit out. Hence the 5 a.m. phone call, because they're like, oh, it's socially acceptable now. It's like we'd be waking up, like. But I get too into the conspiracy side of things.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, another weird thing you got here. They lawyered up right after it happened. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All I knew is that he apparently he called his pilot to arrange a flight to Atlanta for like, I read somewhere that it was for a business trip, and then I also heard in another it probably was a documentary, but like an interview where he said, well, the police took over our house, like we needed to go somewhere, so we thought we'd go to our house in Atlanta. Like, why would you leave the state? Yeah, why would you leave the state? Like,
that's so dumb. And then the last thing that we have is the DNA evidence exonerated the entire family.
But what DNA? Like we talked about that. What
exactly.
What if it's just nothing?
Yeah. I feel like this is the case where you need to ignore all the DNA evidence.
Yeah. But then what are you left with? Nothing.
But the same as what we currently have.
Yeah.
Because we're involved.
Yeah. We're lead investigators.
Yeah. Look at us go. And then last but not least is Burke.
Which I think we both agree that he was probably the most likely person.
It's just so...
If it wasn't the mom. The mom.
There's just too much that it's like, what?
Yeah.
Like when you like really dive deep into the whole Burke theory.
And I know you put this too, because I put the same notes and I saw that you had put it too, that we were both just deeply disturbed at how he reacted during his Dr. Phil interview. His
Dr. Phil interview, and also just like the filmed interviews right after it happened, like
with the child psychologist.
Yeah, like it's weird. He was asked to draw his family,
and he didn't draw her.
And normally, like they would still draw like their sibling that just passed away,
right? Another weird thing he did during those the child psychologist ones was apparently he knew how she was killed before, like. And this was before anyone had given him any details, I'm assuming. Like,
yeah, and he was like acting
that she was strangled. Yeah,
and he said like somebody came and like hit her over the head. Like, how would you?
Unless he overheard like the cops. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, and like we talked about this, how people cope. And you know, you wrote it could just have been him being nervous and uncomfortable. Yes, but also. Go watch, anyone's listening who hasn't seen it, go watch the Dr. Phil interview, and he's not nervous and uncomfortable. He's like borderline smiling.
Yeah. It's like he got away with it,
and he's like, I'm a star now. Like,
obviously, again, I'm just gonna say these are all theories. Like, we're not accusing him.
No, for sure. I just
obviously don't know what we're talking about, but it's just so strange.
I guess a common thing when people are uncomfortable is to smile or laugh. I've definitely been in the situation where it's like someone said something so uncomfortable and I'm just like, oh, and then you're like, I shouldn't have laughed.
I think we jumped ahead a little bit. So some of the evidence that like goes towards Burke, the bowl of pineapple and milk that Jonbenet had on the counter table, whatever.
Yeah, it was like
the kitchen. But it only had Burke's fingerprints on it, obviously, and Jonbenet's. But it didn't have parents' fingerprints or anything.
I thought for sure.
So people think that maybe he got up in the middle of the night with her, got her the milk and pineapple, and then it all happened after that.
Yeah, I also heard a theory that he woke up, went and had a snack, and then she came down and like stole his pineapple, and he got mad. Yeah. So who knows what played out? Like that's just, I guess, speculation, but something happened.
Yeah. Another thing, the dots on the neck. This is the train track thing that we were thinking of. So the dots on the neck that some people think was like a taser or a stun gun, also linked up with the side of train tracks that like go in together.
Yeah, because they had a train room apparently.
So it was like the same distance apart was like the end of the train tracks. So People think that he potentially like used that to like stab her in the neck, or I think it was in her neck that she had the marks.
Or a theory I read was that, this is like a long one, but like he got up, had a pineapple, she got up, stole his pineapple, he got mad, he chased her into the train room with the mag light that is said to have killed her, bashed her on the head, and then she fell backwards, and then that's where she got the marks onto the on the train tracks. So, and then I don't know where the strangling comes in, but
yeah,
happens.
Well, one of the things that I've read a lot of people say, which doesn't really make sense to me, like I don't know how to feel about this. Some people think that Burke originally like did something like what you just said, like it was kind of accidental that she actually died, but like he was mad and like hit her. And then Patsy woke up, saw that it was all going on, and then because she had already clearly lost one of her children, she was trying to protect Burke. But like if that's the case, why would you do all of those horrible things to your daughter that just passed away? Like you wouldn't make like a whatever it's called,
garrote. I don't know.
Out of like
it was one of her paintbrushes that they snapped in half. Yeah,
like you wouldn't. Nobody in their right mind would do that to their child. Right? Like, and even if it is to protect your other kid, like you could never do something like that.
Also, like I get wanting to protect your son, but like take a step back and be like, you murdered my other kid, like maybe some punishment. Like he would have went to juvie. He's 9, he's underage, he would have been out. There would have been no evidence of this on his on his
probably
record.
If he was capable of doing something at 9 years old, it would have been like psychological issues. Like he wouldn't have been in that much trouble. He probably would have been like heavily medicated and like monitored by a psychologist.
So they're probably like, we don't want this for our son or whatever.
Yeah, like
if that's that's the one thing about this whole case that makes me not think it was Burke. It was the whole Garrett thing, or Garrote or Garrote or whatever. Because what 9-year-old knows what the fuck that is and how to make one? Because I didn't know what it was. I looked it up and I was like, oh, what? But like who, if it was a crime of passion, say he did it all, like he hit her and then was like strangling her, you wouldn't take the time to make that. You just take the rope. No. So this is where the reasonable doubt comes in, where I'm just like, that's just a little too sophisticated for me, for a 9-year-old.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like for so long, I was like, oh, it was Burke. It was Burke, and then Patsy did it, like found it and did stuff. But then I'm pretty sure it was the cult leader episode where Mikey was like, what mother in their right mind would ever do something like that? And I completely agree with that.
There's a bunch though, like
oh, I know that there are some crazy people. I don't know, like I can't put my finger down on like a specific theory that I actually can't get behind 100%.
Just the strangling part, like I could see if Burke hit her with a flashlight. Like my brother, I mean, he used to chase me around with knives as a kid. Like I used to have to lock him outside. But like siblings definitely fight and they definitely get violent, especially if they have, like, maybe Burke was undiagnosed mental illness. My brother had ADD or ADHD, whichever one it was, and his manifested in like the anger side of things. So maybe he was like that, but where does the strangling fit in the timeline? I don't know. I've also heard theories that like that maybe it was Burke who hit her with a flashlight, and then like you said, the parents woke up and then they like put her out of her misery.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you just call 911?
Yeah, like I don't believe that one. I don't believe that one. Yeah.
So after all this, I still don't know.
I don't know. There's two, or one's just a far wild like conspiracy theory that's hilarious, and I just want to mention. But there was another one I saw on Reddit actually just the other day, and I think I saw it open. But it's a picture. I'm gonna send it to you. It's a picture of Jonbenet and the woman who's kind of in the corner and she's cut off. People are like, please, like, look at this and tell me that this is not Ghislaine Maxwell. And like some people are like trying to attribute it to it being part of the whole sex trafficking, child trafficking thing.
Oh, wow. Maxwell. It does look like her.
Right? We'll have to post that with the rest of this episode on the Instagram and stuff. But there's a lot of people saying like the noses are different, blah blah blah. But
the nose was the part where I was like, yeah, it does look like in the 1999 picture.
Yeah, right. So it could just be a random woman that looks like Ghislaine Maxwell.
Mm-hmm.
And like in that picture, the woman that looks like Ghislaine isn't even like interacting with Jonbenet, but the fact that she's at this pageant or whatever it is kind of wild. And then the most obscure, crazy one that I read is that Katy Perry is actually Jonbenet Ramsay.
You know what? She kind of does look like her, but no,
does.
she's not.
And I don't understand, why kill your daughter and then have her become a pop star? I don't. Also, the fact that Katy Perry's like apparently like 9 years older or something.
Yeah, I think she just looks a little bit like her.
Yeah.
Which one do you lean towards the most?
I think I lean towards probably Burke the most. I think. Yeah. But Burke,
like, literally, you can't. I'm the same. I'm just like,
I know.
Well, I think it's this, but
like, I honestly feel like it was the most plausible would be someone within the family.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's just not a lot of outside evidence for it to be like a rando breaking in. I didn't mention this either because I don't know how credible the source was, but like the window that was broken supposedly in the basement, there was like kind of stuff on the windowsill that wasn't like knocked over or disturbed. So it's like no one really went through that window. Apparently, it seemed.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It could have just been a random broken window coincidence. But yeah. Do you feel the same? Do you feel like it's probably the family?
I think so. I don't know. It'll just be interesting to see like if somebody like on their deathbed is like, yeah, this is exactly what happened and it's actually true.
I think there's going to be a lot of cases in our lifetime that we'll never know the answer to, and it's just going to frustrate the fuck out of us.
Mm-hmm. Well, at the end of all this, sorry.
Yeah.
We've probably just made everybody more confused.
It's a rough one. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem with cold cases is like we can't end it with, and it was this person. The end. All right. Well, I guess that was enough rambling.
Yeah, we should probably finish it. This is probably actually going to be a really long episode anyway. Yeah. So
True. But it'll be a good one.
Hopefully.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
Keep on creeping on.